how fun and challenging has this process been for you, man? This has been, when last we talked to you, you were kind of just getting into it, and now here we are. Summer showcases are upon us.
Yeah, it's exciting, and these players aren't XFL players, but it feels like we're starting to welcome players into kind of the XFL family to be considered for an opportunity to play in the XFL's first season. So it's exciting that the buzz from players and agents and colleges and pro teams is really great, and I get called all day long, sometimes frustrating managing events, but really just an excitement about, hey, how can I get players in here? Hey, what's going on at these showcases, and what's the purpose of all these moving forward? So I think as much as it can be stressful sometimes managing these showcases and having players be able to attend and figuring out all the logistics of that, it's certainly exciting that we can start having real players tied to possible XFL opportunities.
Oh yeah, this is the exciting part, I think, of the road to 2020 for sure. And I just can't imagine the workload you've had. I mean, how has it been? You've been reaching out to agents, I know. Players have been reaching out to you. You're juggling logistics, like you said. How long has the process been going on, and what exactly has it entailed for you and your department in the league?
Yeah, it's something that's taken a long time preparation-wise, and we've been, focusing on the player personnel really since, December with myself and Doug Whaley, and we've kind of had this plan in place to be ready for these showcases, and you can prepare as much as you want for these 8 events, but you're always going to be swamped the time it comes around. But I think the exciting part is that we've laid a lot of groundwork. We have great systems in place and planning in place, and we know a lot of the guys that we wanted to have for these showcases for a while. We take a lot of pride in doing a lot of the upfront scouting and background research and building databases and having this information at the ready. So when this time comes, it's much more kind of deciding who we want to see really work out, right? Which guys we've seen a lot of. We'll have to get them in front of our coaches and have them do interviews, which the guys that, hey, we've noticed over the last few years that if not for circumstance, they would be in the NFL, and that's why they're going to a showcase. So it's a lot of different stories that we've been, and pools of players that we've been tracking and evaluating and getting ready, and now's the time to kind of execute that plan. And I think the really exciting part is that being, 8 invite-only events, I know a lot of players are chomping at the bit to be there, but for us, having 800 players at our showcases, all of which we've already evaluated, gives our coaching staff and our team at the league such a chance to be, hey, these are 800 good quality players. We know who they are coming in. We'll see them work out and stack up against their competition, and we'll know who's going to be great XFL players in these showcases. So as much as it's a lot of work doing invite only, and to my recollection, I think we're the first kind of group to really do 8 invite only 100-player events like this, not open tryouts, but vetting these guys ahead of time. It's stress in the front end, but I think for us, we're going to go to these showcases and see 100 great players every Friday and every Saturday for the next few weekends, and know that, hey, whoever we take from this, they're going to be quality XFL players, and we get a chance for the league and the teams to evaluate these guys. So I think that's what the really exciting part for us is we had a lot of planning since December, January, February, building these databases, being prepared, working with the industry, and now it's all coming to fruition to have 8 really good showcases of 800 really talented players.
Eric, 800 players, that's a lot of players. Is there any structure in terms of by position what you were inviting, or is it just who you want to see in live action? I mean, was it just pretty much spread out even? How many QBs, I guess, is also what I'm kind of going for?
Yeah. I think that the general way to look at it is we want to build kind of 2 football teams skeleton-wise, right? 100 players, 50 players each. So just like most NFL teams are constructed, between 2 and 3 quarterbacks per roster, we'll have between 4 and 6 quarterbacks at every showcase. And I think we want to make sure we give opportunities for less on the guys we're sure about, maybe have less quarterbacks and less running backs, but we want to give more the bigger body guys, right? The offensive and defensive linemen. They're the hard guys to find. We're going to have a lot of those guys at these events. So I know fans may not be thrilled to see the big guys work out, but I know myself and Doug and our coaching staff especially are looking for those big, talented offensive, defensive linemen as well. But for the most part, they're very structured. There's some give and take a little bit on positions based off certain players, but for the most part, 4 to 6 quarterbacks per showcase, 4 to 8 running backs per showcase, 10 to 14 receivers, some wiggle room, but for the most part, we kind of want to build 2 football teams at each showcase and have, again, 800 guys all have a chance to compete in football settings. And these workouts are partially combine and partially real, either NFL-style workouts when NFL teams work out a guy to consider for a contract. We're doing those kind of workouts, and also one-on-ones and team situations, and give these players at all positions a chance to show that, and one-on-one opportunities are in a team setting they can work well within a team's offense and really be successful football players. So we're hoping to give kind of guys the whole gauntlet of drills and opportunities to be successful. To do that, you've got to have all types of positions in a structured way. So it's a kind of a unique roster construction, but again, we hope it's kind of like two football teams out there competing, and hopefully the best guys show up.
Doug Whaley had mentioned that he wanted to make these showcases, or that you all wanted to make these showcases different from what the NFL does in their combines, and what he said, quote, underwear Olympics. Can you talk a little bit more about how these are going to differentiate from the NFL combines?
Yeah, I think the biggest reason is that we're not entirely beholden to what the NFL does. And that's kind of a lot of what our structure is that, we want to, not reinvent the wheel here in evaluating players or testing players. And, certainly Doug has NFL experience, as do I, and we want to, kind of use the best parts of the NFL process to evaluate players, but also kind of have our own wrinkle on things, and not just wrinkling to do things that are fun or unique and different, but really to evaluate players and use this opportunity to kind of innovate a little bit. Right? The NFL Combine has had most of the same structure for the last 20, 30 years, and we have a chance to kind of start fresh with a new league. So there are some advanced metrics that we're going to be using. Our staff is useful analytics, and we're going to be using all this Combine data, both past and current, at the showcase to evaluate players, and also, doing different drills we're calling our X Factor tests, which are a bit unique. They have, wearable technology, and players are going out there doing football-like drills, and we can measure over the course of especially 8 showcases how explosive they are, what kind of drills and turns they can make, and cuts they can make, and explosiveness they can generate at all different platforms. For receivers, how can they generate breaks out of their routes? Offensive linemen, how do they move laterally with that kind of explosiveness? So they're really unique, kind of innovative, and we're kind of at the front lines of a lot of these testing to actually evaluate players. So I think we're really excited to do some of the old-fashioned, combine drills, the 40, the broad jump, all these things that have shown to be predictive of future football success, but also bring in kind of the next wave of we believe, new technology, both wearable and analytics, to better evaluate players, to give players a better chance to do real football drills that show explosiveness and ability and balance that we're looking to see for guys.
That's huge. I mean, advanced matrix for the summer showcases, you're going to get data that probably no one has ever seen before in terms of actual live play, and that's very innovative, I would say.
Yeah, and I think we have the chance to kind of play in the sandbox a little bit and see what works and what doesn't. If it doesn't work, then we know, and then we've got the chance to do it ourselves and see. And if it does work, then again, we're on the cutting edge. And I know, certainly people in the NFL even are curious for what these results may be. So I think we have a chance to kind of do something really special. But again, a little bit of the old, a little bit of the new, and hopefully we get a good product and can evaluate these guys successfully. Because at the end of the day, these showcases are going to be a lot of fun, a lot of cool activities, a lot of innovations. But us as a staff, we got to find the best players at these showcases. So we want to have all the tools at our disposal to do just that.
How much are the coaches a part of that staff in terms of putting together these showcases, as well as how they're going to be evaluating the players?
Yeah, really the beforehand part of it, coaches and their staff and their personnel staff certainly have input. I'm a big proponent of collaboration, and I want to work with all these great football minds to say, hey, what do you think about these players? Or, hey, you've worked with them in the past. Or, hey, for example, Coach Bob Stoops is our coach in Dallas. He has experience working with the University of Oklahoma. There's a couple Oklahoma guys going to be at his showcase, and I want to get, Coach Stoops' firsthand experience on these players and what kind of guys they are. So we want to get all that collaboration into these showcases. But a lot of it is to say, hey, you as a coaching staff and personnel, this is kind of your first entry point into the whole XFL mode. Why don't you sit back, enjoy these showcases, evaluate players, and not worry about all the background research you have to do, and let us handle that. And that way these coaching staff and these personnel teams can just get a true evaluation of the guys they maybe haven't seen before or seen very little of, and start to really build their evaluation from that point. So I think for these showcases, it's a lot more league bringing in players and evaluating, doing that heavy lifting, so these coaching staffs and personnel teams can kind of reap the rewards and see, hey, these guys really fit our offense or our defense, or hey, these guys culturally fit what we want to build in Dallas or Tampa or DC. So I think it's a good juxtaposition of saying, hey, we want your input on these guys, but don't feel the pressure to do so, and let's just make these showcases what they are, which is a chance to kind of, again, play around the sandbox and evaluate guys for the future and not worry about the pre-end stuff.
Awesome. You're building the pool and the coaches are diving right into it with the summer showcases then, I guess, Eric. It's a fun time, I think, for them, for sure, I bet. What about the percentage of the league's players coming from these summer showcases? What do you anticipate in terms of the amount of players that these showcase players will take up, the spots they'll take up in the league coming out of the 8 showcases?
Yeah, I mean, the expectation genuinely going in is that all 800 of these guys could make a roster, could get signed to an XFL contract. And I don't say that lightly because doing invite only, I know exactly who's going to be there and what their talent level is. And I think to put an actual number on it is maybe hard to do because if 500 guys exceed expectations and who we think they may be, then they'll be the XFL contracts. But I think for the most part, these are not tryouts. These are workouts. We are not hoping to uncover 2, 4, 5 guys. We're hoping to sign, anywhere from 30 to 50, wherever the number may be. But all these guys are good enough, we believe, to play in the XFL either now or in the future. We want to find the guys that are ready to go for our teams and fit what we want to build this first year for all these different teams. And obviously the coach will have input. But, it's hard to put a number on it right now, genuinely, because I like all 800 guys, right? If I didn't like them, they wouldn't be there at the showcases. So we'll see what it all turns out to be. And I'm hoping it's a lot. I'm hoping all these guys can impress. And the guys that are coming or will be coming soon all have a chance to really start fresh and impress myself and our coaching staffs and everyone at the league and saying, hey, is this guy an XFL player? Does he fit what we want to build moving forward? And it could be anywhere from 200 to 600 to, God willing, 800 guys all impressed when we have tough decisions to make at the league level.
Eric, can you talk a little bit about how your call football or the spring league and how crucial those were in getting data and even making connections with players?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I think Your Call Football is a company I've worked with in the past, and I think that was, ideally for my experience, a chance to do kind of one showcase. They had 100 players, 2 teams at Your Call Football 2 years ago and this past year. So from my experience, I have experience in getting 100 quality players to an event to be there to work out for NFL teams. I think that really helped both my experience as well as having agents and players trust that, hey, we know what we're looking for in players and we know the right guys to go to an XFL workout and get a chance in the NFL. And I think that respect we've built in my experience and with players and agents in the past has really helped a lot with building great players. So I think we've got a lot of players in the pool that are from Your Call Football the last 2 years because they've already been evaluated by our staff. But I think in general, people have seen my process and our process and evaluating guys and inviting them to these events and know these events are worthwhile. I think we have a good reputation in the industry for doing that. And I think the Spring League has done a lot for us to kind of play around a little bit. And I think that was the first chance for me to really work with these coaches in a hands-on way and get a feel for what these coaches want in their teams, their offense, their defense, right? Bob Stoops and his team's philosophies on players are a little bit different than Mark Trestman and Tampa's philosophies on players. So I think the Spring League was, aside from the chance to test out all of our rules and really experiment, and that's space from both the rules and the technology aspect. I think for me, selfishly and player personnel, it was a chance to kind of evaluate some guys, but work with Bob Stoops and say, hey, what do you think about these type of players for your offense or defense? Hey, Coach Trestman, what do you think about these guys? Hey, Coach Pep Hamilton, what do you think? So I think both those were integral in building up to these showcases, but I think for now we're ready to kind of have these showcases be our tentpole events moving forward and be kind of the foundations that really start the path towards building XFL rosters, towards the XFL draft, and really for our 2020 season.
Yeah, and Eric, with your experience in working with Your Call Football, and then you get to the Spring League, like you said, you collaborate with the coaches. I've been wondering what has the criteria been then for you when selecting guys as invitees, like our guests earlier, Anthony Johnson Sr., a defensive lineman, Brandon Robinson. These guys are defensive linemen, but maybe would fit in different schemes. Did you take into account who would be invited based on your knowledge of how these coaches are going to formulate their teams with their input?
Yeah, we tried, and I think the most important thing for me is to get 800 great players there. I know it's kind of an easy answer, but we want to get 800 players there, and there's guys of all backgrounds, and some guys are hybrid outside linebackers, some guys are stand-up linebackers, some guys are undersized defensive ends, and I think the exciting part for me is that we've got a lot of different guys that can fit a lot of schemes. There's not any, one showcase doesn't have 6 pocket quarterbacks. One showcase doesn't have 6 mobile quarterbacks. They're intermingled. I think the benefit of that is that even after these showcases are complete the day of, these coaches can still work out players a little bit longer, right? So if one coach wants a pocket passer, he can pull him off to the side and talk to him and do a little bit of workout. Another coach wants a more mobile passer, he can do that as well. Or same thing for the O-line, D-line. Hey, can you move in our scheme the way you want you to? So the benefit for these coaches and player personnel people to be at these showcases is not only to evaluate guys, but really find guys that perfectly fit and start thinking a little bit for the XFL draft. And I think that's where I want these coaches and personnel people's heads at is less about who we're going to sign as a league because they'll have input on that. But, us at the league level, we'll be bringing all these people in and signing contracts. But I want these coaches to start thinking about, hey, this guy really impressed me at the showcase. How early should we take him in the draft if he is signed? Or, hey, does he fit our scheme enough that we can build around him for our offense or defense? So I think these showcases are not only about finding players for the XFL, but I'm thinking 2 steps ahead. And these coaches are, too, saying, hey, we want to find these guys not only for XFL contracts, but how early should I take this guy in the draft in the future? I think that's what the exciting part about all this is that we're starting the foundation for actual roster construction even here in June.
And roster construction means competition, which I feel has already begun among the coaches, Eric. And I think it's going to be a good thing. It's going to be a good thing reflecting on you if these coaches come to draft. They're going to be plotting and planning and coming to tough decisions because they have so many good players to choose from. And we'll see a lot of those at the showcase because we know you've found a lot of great talent out there. But we know that after NFL camps let out, there will be more players available to the league to possibly sign. How big do you think the talent gap between the showcase players and the players signed from NFL camps will be? And are we to assume that these showcase players will be a part of the lower tiers when it comes to the salary structure of the XFL?
Yeah, I wouldn't think about them in lower tiers. And what I've told players and agents, even people in the NFL, and they agree, this is kind of the messaging I use, is that these are not non-NFL players, in my opinion. These guys are would-be NFL guys, if not for circumstance, right? Some players had an injury. Some players had an issue off the field that they've since kind of redeemed and fixed a little bit. Some guys were part of a new coaching or a GM change in the league too. A lot of these players have a story that you can point to 1 or 2 things in their very recent past as saying, if not for this, they'd be in the NFL. So I view all of these guys as, again, quality NFL players, but not there because of circumstance. And we want to give these guys, that's what we're all about in building this league, is not for second-tier talent, but for an alternate route for guys that maybe got left behind or had an issue that kind of derailed them a little bit. So, I think we're going to get great quality players when NFL teams do make their cuts, but I don't think we're going to say, hey, if we sign 100 or 150 players from NFL cuts, they'll be our 150 best. I absolutely would not think that. I think that we're going to have a good mix, and maybe it ends up that more of the NFL guys are successful than the other guys, but I don't think of them in terms of tiers. I think in terms of circumstance. Some guys are in camp, some guys aren't, and we want to have both those guys have a chance. And that's why, in my perspective, we're all focused on the showcases, and we believe we're going to find a lot of great talent. And the coaches already, I talked to 2 coaches already today who are really excited about the guys coming to their showcases. And then we kind of change gears a little bit and go to the NFL training camps and evaluate guys there. And I think it's just 2 different steps in the process. It's not worse to better. So I honestly believe that. I know a lot of players here that, NFL teams are surprised that guy's not in their roster or not in their 90-man roster or has a reason for not being there. But I think most people in the league, as well as in our situation of the XFL, we believe that this talent is not second tier. It's just for circumstance these guys are available to us, and we're excited about them.
Eric, I somewhat asked you this question last time we talked to you back in December in terms of how your job is going to be different in December to now. You're putting these players together. They're going to be signed. They're going to be selected by these teams. Can you let us know what what's your life going to be like come Q4 and even when the league launches in 2020?
Yeah, I think first off, my main focus right now is I can't think past July 13th at the St. Louis Showcase right now, so I'm kind of focused on these showcases. But no, I think it's that kind of 3-step process of showcases, evaluate these guys, get the best players here to work out, and hopefully get them to XFL contracts and ones that are worthwhile, and then off the training camps, do the same thing then. And then comes time in September, October for the XFL draft, and then we're on to kind of keep bringing in guys. And I think one of the benefits for us is that we've got a constant source of players that we can go out and still get. Right, we're not limited by saying, hey, after the XFL draft, we can't get any more good players. We can get a lot more good players, whether it's from guys' contracts in the CFL that expire towards the end of the year, guys in the NFL, their contracts expire in December, guys in the middle that maybe had an injury before, but now they're available to us. So I think just like some NFL teams who find hidden gems, guys like Josh Johnson for the Washington Redskins a year ago, they signed him during the year. He ended up starting games for them. We think we can find a lot of guys like that at all positions later on. So I think for me, the evaluation period doesn't stop, and it's up to me to kind of work with our teams and fill holes where we need to, but really keep the talent flow incoming all year round, whether it's June and July, August and September for NFL cuts, after the XFL draft, during the season. Guys are always available, and it's my belief and my focus that, hey, I want to keep finding these guys, keep finding XFL quality players from June, July, August, September, October, all the way through February, March, April, May. And, of course, we'll be evaluating the XFL rosters. And, before you know it, after our first draft happens, we're thinking about XFL 2021, what kind of guys you want to have in there, who may be available for us at that point. So we're always thinking ahead, and we're excited to kind of build the XFL in year one and then look on at 2021, 2022, 2023, and moving forward.
Well, Eric, this episode alone, we've learned so much about how truly how much talent there is out there that people aren't recognizing or not noticing. And this is really cool how the summer showcases, and you in particular, are harnessing this talent finally, putting it on display. That's what the XFL is going to be all about. So we couldn't be more excited. And we hope you have all the fun in the world at the summer showcases, because we know the hard work you've done leading up to them. We really appreciate your time.
Well, I appreciate it. Hope to see you guys there.